Hey everybody, welcome back to STK US Services. We have a brand new product for you today, the Acer Predator G1-710. We saw this guy at our local electronics shop and we were really impressed with the form factor as well as the specs. It does come with a very hefty price tag though, $21.50 at the time of our purchase. We really thought that it might be interesting in exploring this computer because it comes with a full 1080 versus a lot of computers you're seeing these days that are coming with 1060s and 1070s. They're obviously much cheaper, so the manufacturers prefer those. So we're going to go ahead and analyze the outside. We're going to look at the guts of this guy. We're going to benchmark it for you, and then we're going to review it with full 30 days worth of experience to see whether or not this guy is worth it. Let's get into it. Here we have the contents of the box spread out for you. There's the machine itself with its Predator skin top to bottom. We have the literature in the box itself, a spare USB to C cable, the keyboard, which is RGB as well as mechanical, the gaming mouse, power splitter, as well as the very large power adapters themselves. Going to start out from the top right here. This is the power button. I think that's just outside your view. Here we have your CD tray. Coming down here is the SD card reader, your USB-C port, USB 3.0, headphone jack, and microphone jack. Here you've got 5 inputs that help you get HD sound, as Acer likes to call it. They support up to 7.1 surround. This is an input for a microphone. You've got your exhaust from the input right here. You've got 4 USB 3.0s right here, Ethernet port, a Kensington lock if you want to use it. These are your dual power adapter inputs, and they are necessary at all times, as you know. This is your graphic card right down here and the inputs for it. You've got 3 display ports at 1.4, your HDMI 2.0, and a DVI right here. So right in the center of your screen, you've got your processor with stock radiator and cooler attached. This is the RAM, which is a dual channel, and it's on channels 2 and 4 right now. This is your hard disk, which is acting as backup/storage. This guy right here is the SSD. And hidden behind that is the read and write DVD. We'll show you a picture of this so you see what we're talking about in better depth. This guy obviously right here is the graphic card, which is the biggest part of this whole puzzle. And what they've done that's really cool is they've put a 90-degree extension from the motherboard to the graphic card. That's what allows them to keep it all nice and compact. The other thing that allows them to keep it nice and compact is the fact that the power supply is obviously not here. Your power is always coming from those giant adapters outside, kind of like a laptop almost. This is your motherboard, obviously. And finally, this is your unicycle fan that's making up for the lack of water cooling in this machine. We're going to quickly show you the other side of the PC. We've opened it up just so that we can point out that we have clearly realized now that this is a PNY GTX 1080. We were wondering what 1080 they had thrown in there, and now we can see clearly for ourselves. We can see that the processor is an Intel Core i7-6700 CPU at 3.40 GHz. It's a 4-core, 8-thread processor with an L3 cache of 8 megabytes. We have the main board, the motherboard, made by Acer, IPMSL-GM. Not entirely sure what it is for commercial use, but it is an excellent motherboard. We can see that the memory is on slots 2 and 4, with slots 1 and 3 open. DDR4, 8 gigs, running at 1066 right now, but up to 2132, and voltage of 1.20 volts in a stable use at the moment. For graphics, all that shows up is Nvidia GeForce GTX 1080. Not sure why they didn't just put PNY, but it's running at a core clock of 1600. This is a time-lapse run-through of the Cinebench R15 CPU benchmark test, and this processor went on to score a 774, which is pretty well above average for the mass majority of stock i7s. It's, however, not super impressive for a gaming processor. So take that as you will. 774, good score, not amazing. Another time-lapse, this time a 3D Mark Firestrike Ultra, which is a great gaming benchmark for higher-end machines, particularly if you are interested in 4K gaming. And this machine scored a 4773. This score for its class of 6700 CPUs, as well as 1080 graphic cards, was pretty mediocre. I'd say that it's probably bottom 20 to 30 percentile. That could be for a host of reasons. We're not going to speculate them. But basically, you'll probably be okay for 4K gaming. But if you want to stretch the boundaries with multiple monitors, or if you want to play the highest of games in AAA category in the 4K setting, you might struggle if we had to guess. So we ran Crystal Disk Mark on a test machine, which is pretty average with very, very fast storage disks, and we're going to compare them with the Acer Predator G1's 2 disks. And we see that the SSD on the Predator G1 is exceptionally fast right out of the box, and we see that the backup disk is still very fast, but not quite as amazing. If we were to get these machines out of the box, we would be very happy with these scores. And finally, we ran our favorite benchmark, Crysis 3. We tend to see how it does on gaming machines just to get a sense of overall performance. And we were using Fraps to get the FPS. We saw excellent performance overall out of this using the highest settings on a 1080p monitor. So if you are planning to use it in a similar setting, you should expect excellent gaming overall. Now that we've got the benchmarks out of the way, I'm going to go over our user experience. In all honesty, we had a really good experience with this machine. It was fast at all times, we had zero issues with updates or drivers or anything like that, and surprisingly the Acer bloatware that usually accompanies these machines was a non-factor. It wasn't a nuisance at all. We didn't like the power adapters, these guys right here. They work, they're excellent in terms of what they do, but they're just kind of annoying in terms of cable management. You don't really know exactly where to put them, and the cables at times are a little bit short depending on where your surge protector is and things like that. We did really like the keyboard that came with this machine. It was Cherry MX Blue and it was excellent. We didn't like the mouse. It just wasn't very good, in all honesty, for a gaming mouse. Our one real concern with this guy is the fact that the heating seemed like it could be a problem with greater load. What we mean by that is we were playing Crysis 3 and we saw the GPU spike up to 80 degrees Celsius. If we were to use the AAA game with 4K settings on a 4K monitor, I think it's a pretty logical concern that I don't know if you'd be able to heat it all quite perfectly. So that's kind of one thing to consider if you do plan these really intense games and things like that. Overall, I would give it a score of 9 out of 10 if I had to, because it was really a smooth user experience top to bottom. And overall, that would give it an 86% per our own score, which you can find out how we do that at the bottom of your screen. So now the question turns to whether or not this machine is worth it. Again, it's a very hefty price tag coming in at $2,150. The cons of this machine are the fact that it's very hard to upgrade. Really, all that you can do is add RAM to their 2 open slots, but aside from that, any other upgrades you want to make are going to feature you taking out what's already there and replacing it with something that's hopefully better, which is a waste. And also, some of these things are not that easy. The graphic card is really stuck in there, especially with that 90-degree joint to attach it to the motherboard. I'm not sure if you want to mess around with that depending on your skill level with this kind of work. It is beautiful though, as far as a machine goes, so maybe if that really wows you and you're not too concerned, it's not a bad investment in that sake. If you are looking to be more cost conscious though, if you were to buy a PC from us, relatively speaking, for about $200 less, we could make you a better overall machine. It would have a better with unlocked CPU. It would have unlocked and faster RAM. It would feature water cooling, which this machine does not, which is our biggest critical concern of this guy. It would have a much better motherboard. It would feature an unlocked 1080 GPU versus the standard locked one that you have here. Win Pro versus Home, which is, a little bit of a bonus. And we'd also be able to get in a better mouse and keyboard relative to what Acer has provided you. It would also be in a small form factor. It wouldn't look as nice, obviously. We can't necessarily provide a case that looks like that. But if you're really thinking about it from a cost perspective, it becomes a toss-up. If you're never looking to upgrade your machines, this is a perfectly fine option. You will be very happy with what you get out of the box. If you are the kind of person that wants really peak performance at a premium, and you may want to think about upgrading things down the road, you're probably better off with either going from someone like us, or if you have the knowledge, doing it yourself. So for our closing thoughts, I have to say that I was really pleasantly surprised with this machine. I'm generally not a fan of Acer products, but I honestly think that they've changed my opinion with regards to the Predator line, at least, with this machine. It was really great. I thought I'd be able to sit here and just kind of shit all over it, but I have to tell you now that it's a bit of a toss-up. If you are really going to be happy with what you have for the next few years and you don't want to upgrade, this is probably about as good of an experience as you're going to get right out of the box from any retail store or anything like that. If you do want something that you can upgrade in the future, you can play around with, you can customize for your performance needs, you are still better off going with, again, someone like us who can provide you that, or your own know-how if you have those skills. If you have any questions for us, please leave them in the comments section. We're happy to address anything and everything that we can. If you like this video, please subscribe and like us. Give us a thumbs up, please. And if you didn't like it, let us know why, and we'll be trying to make it better for our next videos in the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.